What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So we're going to take a look at some of the polls that are out there right now. I posted a few polls last week, and I want to take a look at some of them because they're very, very interesting results. I'm also going to talk about a city that's giving out stimulus checks, a $500 stimulus check. So we're going to talk about that. It's for individuals as well as businesses. So that's what we're going to focus on today. But first off, on this channel, we talk about financial news and what's going on in Washington, D.C. We're also keeping you updated when it comes to Social Security, retirement, and what's going on when it comes to stimulus. So if that sounds like something interesting to you, please subscribe to the channel and hit that little bell notification. That way you'll get notified anytime we put out a video. And like always, if you see my name and a picture of me in the comment section, make sure you see a check mark next to my name. That check mark signifies that it's me. If you do not see that check mark, it's not me. It's someone trying to impersonate me. Okay, so let's go right over. I want to take a look at the polls first, and then we'll talk about the city that's giving out stimulus checks. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the first poll here. Do you think Russia will invade Ukraine? And if so, do you think the U.S. will get involved? So that was 3,400 people participated in this poll. And we have, yes, Russia will invade Ukraine, 81%. And no, Russia is just bluffing, 19%. So basically, 81% of the people think that we will be getting involved and Russia will be invading Ukraine. So we're going to have to follow it. Right now, they are pretty much surrounding Ukraine, Russia is. So there's a huge possibility that we will see something occur in the near future. And the U.S. government is getting prepared already. They've already started talking to the embassy, people at the embassies in Ukraine, and telling them, look, you guys need to come home. We know that troops are at the ready, getting ready to go to Ukraine. They haven't gone yet, but they're waiting. And we know that aid has gone to Ukraine. So looks like every indication is that something is going to happen. So we're going to be looking at something in the near future. Now, this is one of those situations where if we do get involved, then obviously there's a cost to that. There's a cost to lives. There's also a cost to financial costs. So how is that going to affect our economy? That's something else that we're going to need to start talking about in the near future. Okay, and that's if this happens. Now, if it doesn't happen, that's great, and we won't have to deal with loss of life or financial burdens that the U.S. will incur. So this is one of those stories you really need to follow closely, so we'll continue doing that. Okay, which political party would do a better job on lowering inflation? Okay, now, when it comes to inflation, the president gets a lot of flack when it comes to inflation, but there are a lot of different factors that play a role when it comes to inflation. But I just wanted to kind of gauge the audience and see where you guys are when it comes to who do you think would do a better job, and we can do things to help. And we saw the Fed chair just yesterday talking about raising the interest rates. That could help. The supply chain is still an issue. We can do some things to make the supply chain a lot more effective. That can help when it comes to inflation. So there are some things that the federal government can do. But I just wanted to gauge the audience and see where you guys were when it comes to this. So we had 3,900 people participate in this poll. We have 21% of the people said that the Democrats would do a better job. 23% says that the Republicans would do a better job. So you basically see this is a neck and neck tie when it comes down to it. But the vast majority of people said neither party. So I think I tend to agree with that. I think neither party, just like I said, there are a lot of different factors that play a role in this. And I think the Republicans right now, they are really jumping on an opportunity, and they know that they really can't do much to change it either, but they are going to blame the president when it comes to inflation. They're going to blame stimulus checks. They're going to blame all the stimulus that we had over the last couple of years because a lot of Republicans, let's face it, a lot of Republicans were against the stimulus that were going out, at least the stimulus for individuals. They were okay with business stimulus, but when it came to individuals, they were not on board in a lot of cases. Now, the CARES package, that first one that went out, the $1,200 stimulus check, you had both Democrats and Republicans bipartisan support for that whole bill. But after that, then we started seeing a divide. We started seeing a split. And when the other stimulus checks came out, you had some Republicans that were in favor, but you had the vast majority of Republicans were not in favor of another stimulus check. Okay, let's go ahead and move to the next poll here. Do you think our democracy is on the verge of collapse? Now, I wanted to post this poll because NBC did a poll similar to this, and their results were, I think it was about 72% So as far as the audience that watches this channel, we have 3,700 people participating in this poll. 86% of the people said yes, and 14% said no. Okay, let's move on to the last one here. Do you think the Fed should raise interest rates? Okay, so this is 2,000 people, 2,600 people participating in this poll. And we have 19% of the people said yes, and we have 81% of the people saying no. Now, this is one of those things. This is pretty tricky because obviously if you raise interest rates, that means if you're trying to buy a house, you're trying to buy a car, you're going to be paying more. But we do need to do something to address the inflation issue. So the way that they've been talking about this for a very long time. Okay, we're talking a year. They've been talking about at some point their interest rate. They're going to need to raise interest rates. So this is no surprise. I think it's something we all were warned that this was potentially going to happen. And so now that it's here, it looks like it will probably start in March. I'm okay with it because I'm hoping that it will bring down inflation. Now, obviously, if it does not work, then now you're going to have people that are really going to be struggling even more, because ultimately you'll be paying more if you need a loan, if you need to buy a car, if you need to buy a house. So that's going to be an issue, as well as how is the stock market going to react to this? Because right now, with interest rates pretty much at zero, there's really no way for businesses to make money when it comes to interest. So they're heavily into the stock market. But once they're able to start making a little bit of money on interest, does that mean that they're going to pull out of the stock market? We're going to have to follow that as well. Okay, now I want to show you this story here when it comes to this stimulus checks. I know you guys want to hear about that. Now, this is just one city, and I will be bringing you guys this information just because you might live in Atlantic City. In Atlantic City right now, they're giving out $500 stimulus checks, okay? And what they're doing is they're taking that money from the last stimulus package. They still have money left over, and they're trying to figure out how to spend it. And so that's what they're going to be doing here, $500 checks that will be going out to individuals as well as businesses. And you just need to show that you had a decline in your income. That's one way for an individual to show, or proof of stagnant wages combined with a rising cost of living, which we know the cost of living has risen because of inflation. So there are going to be a lot of people that will qualify for this. Now, I found this interesting. Businesses also, if you show a loss, if you show that there's a decline in the money that you're bringing in, also they can qualify if they show additional costs they've incurred due to the pandemic, specifically like having to invest in barriers for cashiers and sanitizing supplies. Now, this is what's interesting when it comes to that last thing that I just read there. When it comes to businesses, they're okay with the fact that, okay, yes, you had to buy the sanitation devices and gloves and masks. All that stuff would qualify, right? But when it comes to individuals, we had to buy the same stuff. And a lot of times we weren't given it for free. We had to actually go out and buy hand sanitizer and buy masks. So in Atlantic City, shouldn't that be a qualification for individuals as well? That's what I'm thinking should be fair. Now you're allowing businesses to have a little more leeway with the money, with the qualifying for this stimulus check. But with individuals, you have to show a decline, or you have to show that basically that you've been stagnant and that inflation is affecting you. But those are the only two things. You can't use the fact that, yes, I've been going out buying a mask and all this other stuff for the last 2 years. So I think you should be able to qualify for that $500. And $500 is probably in 2 years. Just think of how many masks you've been buying and sanitizer and all that. That's probably equivalent to $500 if you look at it over the span of 2 years. So that's what we're looking at right now when it comes to stimulus checks. They're still going out locally. So I will continue to follow these stories just to find out if more money is coming to these different cities and let you guys know maybe your city will be on the list. But that's what we're looking at right now. I mean, right now there's not much when it comes to what's going on in Congress. We do know that we'll have a new Supreme Court justice nominee that will be coming in the next couple of months. We're still looking at funding for the government in February 18th. They're talking about around that same time having a stimulus package for businesses mainly. So that's being talked about. We have a bipartisan group right now talking about a voting rights bill. We also have Build Back Better. They're still talking about that. Are they going to have it as one big bill? Are they going to split it up and have these little piecemeal bills? So there's a lot of talk. We still haven't moved forward with this reconciliation bill. So because they have not moved forward with reconciliation, it's kind of hard to tell, because you're going to want reconciliation. You only need the 50 senators, 50 Democratic senators. So it would make sense to have a larger bill, because I've heard people talking about the child tax credit. Why don't they just make that bipartisan? You do have some support from Republicans, but do you have 60 votes? That's what you need. Because if you don't have 60 votes, I know Josh Hawley has been talking about that he's in favor of a parent tax. You have Mitt Romney in favor of a child tax credit. You have Susan Collins in favor of a child tax credit. So this is interesting. We'll have to see how this plays out. But there's still a lot of things that are on the table. But right now we have so many things that are going on. I don't know how much they're going to be able to get done. I think the next deadline that we're looking at is funding for the government, February 18th. So that's when they're probably going to try to push something through. But it most likely will be a stimulus package, and that stimulus package will be targeted for businesses. Now, that doesn't mean that it's only going to be for businesses. That just means that right now you have bipartisan support for a stimulus package that targets businesses. So we'll have to see if they can add to that. That's all I have for you guys today. If you guys like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one.